but
Hey Jack,
Hi.
hello. I am on my data plan. I only have like 200 megabytes data. May not be able to sustain my entire meeting. So in case
Okay.
I'm
I
out of the meeting, so just realize that I'm out of data.
oh okay. I'll try not to overwhelm you today. We have I didn't I today's the day for us to do some updates. I have some status, so we'll give it a couple minutes and then we'll get started. And then we're kind of I think Weifeng as we kind of get together. I copied on email today. Next week is the holiday week. So the
Hmm.
following week, we're going to get together and we have a working session, and then we have topics I think to get us to Labor Day. We'll start to build some topics up. Have to speak to Kevin and see what he wants to do about some topics around kind of the EDA, neuromorphic, whatever, in terms of getting something in.
Okay.
But
Actually, I'm
but
going back this Sunday, so I should be able to participate in some of those meetings.
yeah, so I'll send something out as we go through some of the elements. I see Matt and Mike on here. So we're Matt, I'll add you to the invite as we get together on the modeling and the HPC stuff. Yasha's on. I'd have to look for everybody else. Winston, King Shuck, myself, Wei Fang, Yasha, Mike, Mike and Matt, and so that'll get us to I think, and Tushar's going to be back on the 8th, so we'll get together with him. We'll kind of go through some status, but so give it
Sounds
like
good.
another minute, and we're gonna kick things off. And it today, as I said, is mostly just kind of a status meeting. Nobody kind of pushed the button, and I'll be honest, I was with the abstracts and some other stuff. I didn't really gear up a topic for today, so let me see what I can do here. So we should come up. So give it a minute and have to look. Oh, I closed my controls here, so I don't really see. Um, so as I said, we don't have a talk schedule for today. Um, uh, Today I was going to provide an update. Weifeng and I were talking about some of the things where some pieces go. What we're looking for is if there's any topics, but as we start to plan out the second half of the year, part of it's towards OCP Global Summit, part of it's towards finishing the year on some of the topics that we're actually doing. So, hopefully everybody can see my slide here and everybody can hear me. So if somebody just acknowledges, then I'll yam around for a while. Are we good?
Yep, I hear you.
Okay. Can you see my slide, Brian?
Yes, I can.
Okay, then I guess okay, sounds good. So Brian and I can have a dialogue here. So just in terms of this, we geared up and we did the abstracts that came out of the OCP server, um, uh, uh, our breakouts space. And so the way it stands right now, we submitted, I think, 8 abstracts. I believe, if I'm going to guess, I think 6 went into OCP Server. So the OCP overall body, the OCP governing body, went through all of the abstracts, and then they looked at the topics, the pieces, and they tried to fit into the buckets, the projects, the overall governing projects. They tried to fit into those particular pieces as best they could. So Weifeng and I are part of the OCP server, looking at it, trying to fit some pieces together. Um, So as they said, they thought we would probably be about 2 to 3x oversubscribed, and I think we're pretty close to that from number of abstracts to actually slots as we go through. So 6 of the talks that we submitted fell into the OCP server. I'm just trying to find out where the other ones were. I reached out to Kate to ask, but you know, they had actually gone through so if I look, we're probably 2 to 3x oversubscribed of what they actually looked at and trimmed down to be voted on. So I think there were far more than the 2 to 3x. 2 to 3x is just what we're now going to vote on to fit into a slot. They actually had already done some sort of prejudging on the entire space. And so from that particular space, um, you know, oh, I apologize, typo here. So they created breakout sessions. We have about 3.5 hours in OCP server, but that includes OCP server, includes Nick, includes HPC, includes our working group. And so we're about 26, and I asked to have one talk removed. And so we'll be about 25 talks, and we have to find out how do we do 10 slots. So, so we're going to get together. I think Weifeng and I are part of a group of 8 that we're going to vote on this, and we're going to go through some ranking, which ones are 15-minute slots, 20-minute slots, or 20, 25, and 30. We can do as low as 15 if we so desire, but then there's still kind of a 5-minute handoff. So, you know, even if we do 20 minutes, we're probably going to end up with about 10 slots in the session. So we're going to have to negotiate some of those things, and we're going to go back and forth. But this covers everything from PCIe interface to NIC to cooling to our AI hardware software co-design. So as I said, we may actually vote with the 6 to collapse into 3, and then to basically keep the content moving forward and figure out a way that we can go forward. So if I'll kind of walk through this section and we can go through. As part of the work that the group is doing, Keysight did a great job proposing an initial schema for the AstroSim and how you could actually, you know, put a UI on the front, generate a schema that allowed us to actually feed into AstroSim to build the model versus doing it all by hand. So it's kind of a start in terms of a way to construct, especially if we do kind of compute communication collectives. And we have a number of things that we want to do to extend that particular space. So I asked for a slot as part of the Open Systems for AI governing AI body for OCP for us to come in and propose a way to standardize that for OCP as a schema definition for AI, AI factory, AI data center, modeling kinds of things along those lines. And so we're scheduled for 7/9. So Winston and King Shuck, I'll talk to you because I know we're going to get together next week to do an initial review on that. But that becomes kind of our founding space where we're going to propose doing a standard. We're going to propose the elements, talk to them about what is it going to take, who we should include, what kinds of things do we need to go forward, what does it take for us to produce the document, what sort of legal kind of things that we have to go through to get all of that kind of squared away, and then do the work and then essentially submit the standard. Submit a proposal for standard that would, you know, that everybody can look at, vote on, you know, massage, things like that for us to go forward. So we're on the hook for 7/9. So Winston and King Shuck, you know, when we get together next week and we do kind of our initial review of that kind of thing, that's going to target the following week for us to go kind of a similar kind of thing as a proposal for standard. Okay. And then in relation to kind of the overall AstroSim space, there's a storage working group. And so out of McGill, there's a Chakra AstroSim for ML perf storage. And I've been working with Tushar on some things around way to do data services storage to fit into compute communication. So to do a very similar kind of paradigm that we do in the AstroSim model today for storage. And the McGill team is actually working on something today to do some modeling for ML perf storage. And so we meet next week on, you know, we meet next week. There's a kickoff meeting, I think, for this particular group, working group where the McGill team has some ideas. And so there's a couple of companies that are also attending in terms of that. So I'm trying to think. I don't think there was another university on the list, but McGill's driving it, and it's part of the ML Perf and that they're extending for Chakra and AstroSim. Okay, so that's kind of the first space in terms of the update. OCP Global Summit, kind of some of the things that we have in flight, some of the things that are in progress. I apologize I didn't include the the schema meeting for next week, and then the following week we're just negotiating an email prior to this meeting, getting the week of 7/7. You see right here, working group meeting proposed for 7/7. So that's kind of the first part of where we are. Any questions, dialogue, comments?
Looks good to me.
Okay, it's gonna be a quick meeting. So as part of our bi-weekly talk, and some of the things that that we're really hoping to move forward. So we have essentially 6 months left to the year. We're targeting some things toward OCP Global Summit. I talked to Yasha about some of the things that we're going forward. He started some of his work, which I'll let him talk about later. But I've started some work, and what kinds of things we're doing around collaboration, some pieces like that. Are there ways that we can start to build up some of the larger modeling space? I know Tushar has some students. We're going to see what we can do around kind of the chakra space and start to collect some of these pieces as we head towards the end of the year. But also, what is it going to take for us to finish on the schema standard proposal? What is it going to take for us to finish the document? And what kinds of things we want to do around, finishing up the white paper as well as the model updates. There's some things around, we talked to Namsung around CXL near memory compute in the modeling discussion, as well as the work I'm doing around data services and storage. I know Kevin and some others had talked about chiplet, EDA, silicon design, things like this. It's not a space that I'm an expert in and things like that. So Kevin, if there's some things that you would like to bring up, we talked about abundance of wires. We've talked about some pieces. So if there's areas, you and I can talk offline. I have some ideas around conceptually about, some of the fabric kinds of stuff. I don't really care for how it gets packaged, whether it's silicon or system or rack or data center kinds of things. But if there's things that we could do to extend the model, that would be ideal as we start to look at some of the compute communication paradigms and some things that we could do in terms of driving traces, what sort of characteristics we have to look at, what sort of interfaces, what are the differences in interfaces, and how some of these things work. So we have a couple of weeks where we're going to actually, when we return from holiday, where we'll review the Open System for AI and the proposal that was made for Open System AI around the schema. Where are we in terms of the document and the model and things like this, and our plan to finish the year? The data services model and, how's it going to work? What kinds of things we're doing? And if there's anything around silicon design, which gets us to like mid-August. And then at that point, we're leading into Labor Day. So we might have a bit of a hiccup as we start to get ready. But then we can review any sort of things around Global Summit presentations, because I assume once things get selected, people have to start posting content, going through review cycles, things like that. So if there's any sort of thing as we go through. And Kevin, I also realized in the first bullet, we had shared kind of a 2-pager on neuromorphic computing, which you were going to submit. So I don't really know the status of that, but I assume you posted.
I did submit. I did make some edits and submitted it. I think I submitted 2 things. I can't remember what they are now exactly. One of them was under photonics more. So some of the stuff been talking about communication with the Open Atomic Ethernet workstream guys.
Yep.
And there's things in there about being able to use the abundance of wires that photonics gives you.
Okay.
Although that's a contradiction in terms. It was that one, and trying to remember what the other thing I did was.
Okay.
We'll discuss it.
No, you had asked me like, do we need to include anybody? And so while I did an initial pass on the 2-pager for neuromorphic, I don't need to be part of that. Okay. Hopefully I was clear.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, it's it's one of those things where it's a fairly large topic, and
Mhm.
people can fit their stuff into it. I think.
Yes. Okay.
I was going to say that on the other work streams I've been on, the chiplet one,
Mhm.
a couple of years back, we were looking at chiplet system design. So I did a paper on that to get into the chiplet summit, and I did another one this year. I stuck one of them in the chat if anybody wants to look at that. But
Okay.
basically, I'm looking at EDA going forward as being in an OCP context as something where you're looking at software workloads and trying to make them work better.
Okay. So if we could, you have to tell me what week works for you, because we can swap the biweekly topics. Because what I was just mentioning is we look at different chiplets, workloads, fabrics, interfaces, things like this. Are there ways that we can extend the model that we have? And so I'd like to talk to you about some ideas, and then see if that fits in. And maybe what you can do is present to the team in one of the upcoming biweeklies.
Sure.
So send to Weifeng and I what week works well. And then from there we can go through, for us, part of it's packaging, but if you have, if we get tied to a specific thing around chiplet, but if to your point, like photonics, abundance of wires, different kinds of interfaces, allows us for a given workload to model different kinds of pieces to fit into kind of our overall modeling paradigm. And then we can actually, for the white paper, we can take some of the work you've done to extend a section. So not just look at fabrics at training or inference, but now we can look at in terms of packaging and actual compute models.
Yeah, it's more like we could start off with a software workload and just try and work out what it's doing, and then like try and break it up and assign it to appropriate hardware.
Okay.
And
So
what I was trying to do with the Atomic Ethernet guys is say, okay, it's like we need some sort of safety net of communication that once things have landed on particular accelerators, you want to short circuit the stuff and go as fast as you can and use as little energy as possible.
Okay. So after the holiday, I'll schedule, I'm pending, taking notes, but Yasha's working on some related kinds of things. And, there's some elements that might be related. And so we'll get together and talk about some ideas.
Yeah, I'm sure there's a lot of overlapping activity.
Yeah, no, I mean, overlap may come across as a bit hostile or things, but a lot of common thought, and so what we can do is figure out, are there places that we could actually share some ideas, and then do that as part of an upcoming biweekly where we talk about some elements and in terms of that. Because in the data services space, Yasha proposed a model in terms of, some things around compute communication, looking at different kinds of device models. So I took that same space on compute communication and find a way to actually, to provision and essentially project workloads onto resources, but based on, to your point, on the workload, how do you project onto different computes, divide it up, project, do things like that. And so I'm going to use a similar mechanism in the data services. So it's a workload provisioned onto compute communication, but it does something specific to data versus algorithms versus, to your point, chiplets. And so I think if we can, I think we're honing in kind of in a common methodology that we can actually get together and propose.
One of
Yeah,
the things,
oh, sorry.
I actually be super interested to hear about the EDA ideas that you're discussing, because I sometimes think about this a bit as like different time loops in a sense, whereby like if you think about the the co-design co-design time loops that you need, then kind of the EDA actually getting chiplets together is kind of the longest time loop of them all, right? In the first instance, you have to just make it one on the general purpose hardware you have, and that's that. And then ideally you have this more systems of systems set up on, at least for the HPC, where you get to reconfigure the overall HPC system in a way to make it work for the hardware, for the workload. But then at the very tail end of that is a full on like EDA process where you have a custom designed silicon. And I also looking at like towards the end of the year, like obviously we've been discussing white papers or something that would be actually kind of nice addition, which I don't think the last white paper covered, to which degree this idea of co-design can actually kind of permeate, if you want, through different layers of this and different time courses. That could be quite interesting to discuss.
So Yasha, I'll send mail to you and Kevin, and we'll see if we can find it. Anybody else is interested, just send a note. But we'll see if we can kind of kick off a topic, have a working session, so that we can actually bring it in as a biweekly, figure out, okay, here's the things, here's the pieces, kind of get our heads together around some topics, some elements, and then we can actually bring it in and do a biweekly kind of presentation dialogue. Is that okay?
Yeah, sounds good.
Okay.
So Jack, so what is the state of neuromorphic computing? Are we going to do something about it in this group or not?
So as I just said, Kevin submitted. So from kind of, I don't want to say it's part of this group. So
I don't know what Kevin has submitted. All I know, he wrote 2 pages, and I
he took
said,
that, he modified those 2 pages and did a submission. I haven't
"Oh,
seen it. Okay.
I haven't seen it too."
Okay. So Kevin, can you post it into our let me think
I'll
about,
try and
in our
remember to do that. Yeah.
Oh, okay, in our share drive. Okay, so that's number 1. Hesham, I'll invite you as we get together kind of in our working group. So Yasha, Kevin, Hesham, Jack, Weifeng. Anybody else wants to join, let me know. Where we can talk about, what compute models fit, because Yasha's been looking at different device types. This could be a device type when we look at a given algorithm workload, and we have in terms of something from a hardware, I think what Yasha was talking about is kind of this hardware software co-design. Do we look at like certain algorithms mapped to certain pieces in certain ways, kinds of things, of which neuromorphic is a type. I don't know that we have a specific, as you and I talked, I think 2 meetings ago, if for us to do neuromorphic as a topic, I agreed to write the 2-pager. I agreed to do the proposal, and Kevin took it over. I agreed to do those pieces. I did not agree to drive it. If we had a driver, I'm willing to support it, or I think Weifeng's willing to support it. So from a working group, but I know we've had presentations into the team. We have to coalesce that into a proposal of something we would want to do. So I did the overall abstract as well, that we could actually develop into a white paper that would fall into something from our group. So I started that. I didn't agree up front to be the editor for the white paper piece. I did agree to put together the 2-pager as a start to the abstract submission, or the extended abstract. So I agreed to kick things off, but Hesham, send me a note. And if you're volunteering, that's great. If you're looking for somebody else to volunteer, send me a note and just let me know, and we'll figure out what to do. But I would prefer that we look at the algorithms and the things that we're addressing, and then we can find a space where, hey, and oh, by the way, for this slice of the things that we're doing, neuromorphic fits, and it fits this way. And then we can write it as a slice that I can support to go off and start a whole effort, in the fact that I think I put together the introduction to a white paper, the extended abstract, and some of the pieces, and only Kevin did the extended abstract. Nobody else kind of jumped in. I reached out to Charles from IBM. I haven't heard back. I'll ping him again. But what does that mean? What kinds of things we do? I don't know. I would look for you to
Yeah, but
volunteer. Okay,
sure.
go ahead.
But Jack, you wrote, my understanding is that you wrote these 2 pages, which are good because I don't understand the process. The objective of the submission is to add neuromorphic computing as a topic for future technology initiative, or as a topic for this group. I don't understand the
Right.
process really.
Okay. So the white paper piece that okay, I'll take a step back.
Yeah.
So we can now, I did the introduction white paper piece. We can now look and say, okay, based on what this group is doing, looking at workloads, okay, analyzing workloads, and how that from a software to a hardware, what sort of hardware to software, what's the best way to optimize hardware software co-design kinds of things. We are having our conversation around around chips, chip design, things like silicon design. We're having some things around system design. We're having some things around system of design. And where does fabric topologies, things like that. So Kevin just had the conversation around chiplets. Then we've had some
Yes.
conversation around systems. We have some things, how that maps onto specific elements, of which neuromorphic could be one specific device type that we would have to model in terms of our ecosystem, how it would work, things like that. So for this given trace, this given workload, we discover neuromorphic. How would we map? What kinds of things we do? Could we break the work up? Could we do some pieces? And what are the elements we do? It would be a specific element that would fall under AI hardware software co-design. Okay, so that's one aspect. To the second, so now we could take that, and to Yasha's point, that hasn't been, both chiplet and that specific piece hasn't been really addressed in the white paper. We can extend and we can add those pieces, definitely, okay, in terms of that, but it becomes an element of something. And oh, by the way, as a conclusion for further investigation, where would neuromorphic fit? Number one. Number two, from the working group, we said, hey, we could do an extended abstract on any topic. And so Kevin took the start, he edited it, he submitted it. If it gets approved, it doesn't necessarily have to say from AI hardware software co-design, it says it's from Kevin, but it's an OCP thing in terms of this. And if there's a lot of interest, we can figure out where some things go. Now, Rob said, hey, it might be good that this is the right place to put something like neuromorphic to get started. And I know you've asked several times, and what I'm telling you is we have a couple of avenues. Extended abstract, generate interest. Kevin, say it becomes a poster or a talk at OCP Global Summit. Kevin gets some interest and said, hey, we have a working group. We could do this. Here's how it would fit. And we have the white paper, of which we would have a section that would say, oh, by the way, of the compute device model. Oh, Kevin, were you groaning? Did I say something I shouldn't have said? No.
Wasn't me.
Okay, I want to make sure I used your name. I just didn't know if you're shouting expletives behind the scene. So
yeah, I was going to say, if it's a poster, then other people can turn up and talk over it.
okay. Yes, yeah. I mean, please feel free to volunteer. But then you look at kind of the second part. Okay, hey, here's a white paper. We have a section, and then we could have a call to action. Hey, if there's neuromorphic, here's some pieces. Hey, how do we reach out? There's Project Phaser, that Yasha and I attended, did some things. They're very interested in connecting to OCP. There's people who are building things interested in to connect to OCP. I apologize. I haven't followed up with every single one to kind of go through, but I think if we're going to build a section into the document, then with that, Hesham, yes, I will volunteer. I'll speak to Charles again. I'll speak to Project Phaser. I'll speak to VJ, and we'll make sure if we do it, we're going to do it correctly, so that from a device type that maps to workloads of the kinds of things we're going to do, then we're actually going to go ahead and we're going to do it correctly. Okay.
Excellent. So why don't we choose that route?
Okay. All right. We're already doing option A, and Kevin is the lead. Okay. And we will do option B. And as an element, as a device type, we'll get together the week after the holiday, and we'll have a subgroup meeting, and I will schedule some time and just say, here's the path. And as the path of least resistance for this working group, I will take the action to start reaching out and saying, if we are looking to do this, and a device type will be neuromorphic, and here's the things we're going to go through about hardware software co-design, and I will see everybody I can enlist from. I have to think of the ones but Charles and VJ, as well as I know Yasha has some things, Project Phaser. I'll reach out, and Hesham, I'll include you, and we'll see what it takes for us to put that together.
Excellent. So what Kevin is doing, Kevin, what you are doing is a submission for a poster session?
I think it was open as to what it would be. It's an abstract.
It's up to OCP. They would look at it and say, okay, for FTS, we have all these submissions. We're going to take X amount as presentations. We'll take the next segment to be, poster sessions, and then we'll give the thank you for participating trophy to all the remaining ones that weren't selected.
Got it. Thank you for explaining this to me. Yeah, and
no problem.
Question, Jack, who are the decision maker when you submit something to OCP?
So it starts with the the OCP governing board. There's a team
Oh.
there that go through them all. So if we're going to go to
Uh-huh.
OCP and you're going to submit the best recipe for chocolate cake, you're going to get rejected before it even goes to whatever, however they divide it up. And they look and say, okay, we have dozens of AI fabric and all sorts of things in terms of this presentations. That'll go into the networking, or there was a bunch of stuff that fell into under OCP Server, which has a number of subgroups.
Got it.
And then so they break them up into that. FTS, Future Technology, Future Technology Initiative,
Initiative, yeah.
yes, they're given. So like last year, yeah. So last year, Weifeng and I ran a symposium of which we had 2 panels and 4 talks. So they gave us a block of time for us to take our work group, and they gave us an entire session. But you would look
Got
and
it.
say, okay, there's going to be, you know, we're going to say, well, there's a FTS on, you know, I think there's data-driven modeling, or I forget, data-centric something. And then there's something, you know, some number of FTI kinds of things. And then, so as Kevin submits, he may get a poster because it didn't fit into a specific bucket where they wanted to create kind of a breakout, or maybe it did. And so if it
Got it.
does, then they can say, oh, okay, this would be a great poster topic, presentation in a session.
Got it. Got it. Thank you very much, Jack, for explaining this to me. That's very good. Thank you very much.
I would add that the neuromorphic stuff, it's just how do we do computing in general anyway? I mean, how do we make our computing more adaptive?
Yeah, that's good. If you're going to present something, if you are going to present something about it in the OCP Summit, let me know when and where. I would like to attend.
Sure.
Okay,
So
and I'd have to think about it. Weifeng or Brian may know, if Brian's still on, if
Yes.
the OCP registration is open. I don't know if it's open yet or not. But everybody is, you know, everybody is more than welcome to attend, is encouraged to attend the sessions from this group, attend the sessions for other groups, you know, any session that comes up for this group, you know, answer questions, invite, you know, meet people, do things like that, network, learn things, you know, expand the presence of this group. One of the things for us, I think we're working in the first half of this year, our 3rd presentation to the Open Systems for AI thing, talking about our working group and what we've been doing. We're going to talk about the schema. So we presented a couple of times just to raise awareness. And, you know, obviously, as we kind of look, you know, we dealt with the OCP governing board, you know, hey, we're working on this topic, and they, you know, we're always encouraged to reach out to other teams to do things like that. So I think Weifeng and I will be far more proactive as we get into the second half of this year to really solicit and things like that. You know, there has been some changes in leadership. Our OCP server leadership is shifting a bit, you know, in terms of this. You know, so we're going to meet people, work with new groups. And then one of the contacts I made, I haven't followed up, but, you know, obviously the Meta team does AI hardware, software co-design. And so I have a follow-up with Taewoo, you know, and so we're going to get together on some of the things, but connect with them on some of the elements that we're doing and make sure that we're straight. So especially as Kingshuk and Winston are working on kind of this standardization for the schema, we want to make sure at least the Meta, you know, team has reviewed it and things like that, because they have a lot of things that they have in flight in this particular space, you know. But
you know, Meta acquired at scale. So
okay,
the at scale team now is part of Meta, including the CEO.
okay. I'm not aware, so I'll have to look at that. But yeah,
Meta is an interesting case because, you know, what I saw when I worked there was that, you know, there are a bunch of people working in System C, C++ land, you know, trying to turn stuff into hardware. You know, it was quite difficult for them to take something that was at a high level and get it down into gates, and I think they still struggle with it.
okay. Yeah, so, but that they have a whole group that does this particular space. And the AstroSim, the nice thing about the AstroSim team is as Tushar graduates students, a couple work at NVIDIA, a couple work at Meta, a couple work at AMD, a couple, so if you look at, there's other companies that are engaged in this, but obviously these are people that have already developed AstroSim over their PhD cycle. So they're very well versed in this particular space. And so as you look at like the Chakra AstroSim, if you look at, from an ML per storage, you have people that are going to join. Well, these are people who came out of the AstroSim space as well. So it's good, he's building students, but one of the things that Tushar was asking is there a way as we start to look, and so we're going to start to advocate not only the schema, but if we have a modeling tool, can we start to have that conversation? So Victor has a hand raised.
Yeah,
Those I can see.
I'm not sure this related to here. Her discussion with Tushar last meeting. I prepared a presentation, so I'll present at probably at the Chakra meeting, either next Monday or the one after. About
You're going to present, or he's going to present?
I will present at the Chakra meeting about aggregation. Because right now it's this is a presentation.
Okay.
I come up with. Basically, right now the Chakra trace is very heavy, but production probably needs something similar to the Oracle's wave data aggregation. So he said he wants to see something like that to be presented. So I present.
So what meeting you are talking about?
I'm not comments Chakra trace meeting.
Chakra trace. What is this? Is this OCP?
No, it's
so Chakra trace is essentially it's a trace of workloads in the data center, and a chakra is a common format. It goes through ML comments. Am I close, Victor?
Yeah.
So this is separate from OCP, right?
It's
Yes.
separate. Yeah.
Got it.
Okay. So thanks, Victor. You put it into the chat?
That's
Did
the
I
one.
drop off?
Yeah.
Okay. I can't see the chat since I'm presenting, but I'll trust that it's there, and it'll end up in the overall minutes and when I post the recordings. So okay.
Yeah.
So so we're going to have a modeling working group update, working session. We're going to have a chiplet EDA silicon hardware design working session. We're meeting on a schema working session all after, I think as we kind of go through, the schema one might be next week, but then the other ones are after the holiday. So anybody who wants to join anything as I schedule them or as they get scheduled, just please reach out. It makes it easier as we get together for the pieces that we do. Sometimes to do it outside the biweekly, and this biweekly, we typically either have a presentation or kind of a status update in terms of the way we're going to go through. And it's kind of good because I thought we'd have a short status update, but I'm glad people are asking questions. So it's a longer status update. But so we do have biweekly talks where we'll present from the working sessions up, but we're going to have some working sessions on each of those topics, especially. And so, Hashem, to your point, as we get together around chiplet EDA silicon, we're going to talk about device types. So
Excellent. That's
okay.
good. But if you have meeting on this topic, please invite me because I want to attend.
Okay. And as I said before, when I went through, you were on the invite list. Yes.
Thank you very much,
So,
my friend.
okay.
I want to meet you, Jack. If I go to OCP Global, I want to meet you, man, because
okay. Well,
your voice. You are a very young guy. You have a very young voice.
Okay.
And
well,
but
I'm
you
a
are
very,
like me. I am an old man too. I am an old man too, my friend.
Okay. Well, the good thing is that's recorded for posterity's sake. But
Yeah.
so it is unclear if I will be at OCP, but I will drive everything up into OCP. So
Thank you very much.
It's not clear if I will travel. So okay. So and as I said, as we start to look at, I talked about all of the pieces. So, we're looking at, essentially the team that's been working on kind of the white paper modeling around system of systems and the abstracts that we submitted. I can't see if CMX on the phone about his supercluster builder. Is he on the phone? Maybe not. Okay.
I'm here.
Yeah. Yeah.
Kevin,
So
Kevin, you put
well,
a PDF.
Hesham,
Oh, yeah, go ahead, go ahead, go ahead, go ahead. Go ahead.
okay,
Yeah,
let's finish one conversation at a
yeah,
time.
sure,
So
sure.
on this, okay, on the supercluster builder, I can include you as we go through the modeling discussion because I'd like to learn more in terms of that because I didn't. I'd like to understand, what kinds of things we can do to collaborate, because I know you're working on kind of the visualization, the modeling, the layout, the things along those spaces. So what ways that we can work together in terms of that. So you have to let me know. I'll send you a mail. Maybe we can connect and figure out what's the best way for us to kind of connect some dots, or is there ways that we can support each other better in terms of working on this?
Very good.
Okay.
So Kevin, you put a link to a PDF file. This is the one you submitted for your stuff, including neuromorphic.
No, these are older things that I did for the chiplet summit. So,
Can you
so
please
the
put a
last
link?
one there, yeah, the last one there is about how to do software-driven sort of design of hardware.
Okay.
Or
Can you put a link
optimization.
to the 2-pager or whatever you submitted for the neuromorphic?
I don't think a link exists at the moment, but I'll try and put it somewhere shared.
Yeah, or send it to me. I need to look at it.
Yeah, sure, I can do that.
Thank you, Kevin.
Okay. So I'm going to reiterate in terms of this, we have about 15 minutes left. Two things. O and OCP is open. So as I said, we're kind of building up these things. It's really hard to schedule 30 people into a meeting, but everybody's invited. So when I say, hey, we have working meetings on A, B, C, D, if you have an interest, just send me a note. And when we schedule, we'll include everybody to make sure everybody can make it. And as we go through, and then we're going to do status updates on our biweekly. So that's number one. If you have something you would like to include that's not being included, so for Hesham was talking about neuromorphic wasn't on today's list, but now it is. So it will get added. If there's something you want in terms of for the group to consider, go through, schedule something where you would like to present in a biweekly or offer something up, please do. If the group, basically it's just, a few of us that are coming together every week and kind of doing some things, we do work together. I'm not saying we don't, but it's better when we're a little bit more diverse and we have a diversity in thought. So as I said, O is open. So please share everything. There's no dumb opinion. There's no stupid thought. Everything is welcome, and we're going to kind of go through. So if you look and say, I didn't think this, this approach was good, or we have a better approach, or hey, we were thinking a different way, please bring it in. We have time in any particular space. So, we are carving out, especially as we start to really, there's a number of us that are really starting to get into details about implementation, demonstration, sharing thoughts, working on ways to extend standards. How do we collaborate with ML Commons? How do we collaborate with, with OCP? How do we build standards? How are we going to articulate a white paper? How do we use the model to characterize results, to validate some of the assumptions that we made, the hypotheses that we're making, things like that. And if you'd like to join in, jump in, participate in any way, shape, or form, please do. You are more than welcome to do this. There's a lot of things and as Yasha has some thoughts around, as he said, around some pieces, and Kevin's, chiplet, so it's a small team, but if you have some thoughts and you just want to jump in on some pieces, please do. So that said, this is kind of our next 6 months as we really start to jump into it. I don't have anything for the next 15 minutes of the hour. So we have two choices, is that we can open it up for any open dialogue, but in the lack of questions or lack of comments or things like that, I don't have anything else for today.
If there's nothing else, I don't need to go through the whole thing, but the reason I can talk about why I think it's something that I didn't present the chakra before.
Okay.
Okay. Let me see what I can share my screen.
I have to leave to another meeting, so I am sorry. I'm Victor. I would like to attend your presentation, but what can I do?
It's recorded.
Yeah, excellent.
So I get the recording stuff. It may take me half a day or a day, but it'll be up on the wiki.
Thank you very much, Jack. You're doing a great job, and have a nice weekend, everybody.
Yeah. So the reason, so this is Oracle Wait interface. So if you don't know, just read that book, co-authored by 3 of my friends there. I worked in Oracle for 17 years. So I'm not going to go through what the chakra trace is. This is just the references about what it's about. The reason I'm just go through, this is about what I'm going to present in the chakra meeting about how to aggregate with the lower overhead. But I'll go to the point where I think it's impossible to solve the problem simply by using the, let me see where it is. There's one, this one. So this is one of the article. If you go there, says, is it ready for production, safe production? The answer is yes, you can do it for production, no problem. But the caveat is this is supposed to for single session because it does put an overhead on the system. And it also doesn't give you kind of aggregate information you need for real-time feedback. So this is the reason I feel that the software, the polymorphic architecture at least, in order to get information back and make real-time like workload distribution decisions, you have to have a real-time feedback on what's going on and is it slow or not? And if it's slow, which part of the system is slow and what is the cause of the slowness? All that need to be done on the aggregate level, not on the detailed trace level. Because the current trace is very similar to Oracle SQL trace or 10046 trace. It's very heavy, a lot of trace files. So this is for to do root cause analysis, find a particular session, but not for really the full real-time feedback to give you kind of a direction on what the orchestrator or scheduler need to do to make decisions to map the workload to a particular hardware. And so in conclusion, the conclusion I have is so if you don't know, the chakra is based on the PyTorch profiler, torch profiler, and underneath they use the Kineto library, which is also from PyTorch. At least for PyTorch it is. I'm not sure about others. It's probably similar. So in my opinion, in order to have something for polymorphic architecture and have a real-time mechanism to give you feedback on real-time decisions on scheduling and performance issues, we need two community, not multiple communities to work together. One is the PyTorch. The PyTorch, if need to somehow do the aggregation on the Kineto level, doing on the trace level is already kind of after fact. It's too heavy, not real time enough. Second is hardware support. In order to understand the actual the components of the polymorphic architecture, the hardware support need to be there to support the API, and of course all the communication libraries beneath it. And of course, it's ideally it will be hardware agnostic, which is even harder. But at least within each individual stack, this one is CUDA stack, the other one is the other one DNN stack. At least within the stack, the hardware needs to be able to provide that capability to support whatever PyTorch to do to make that aggregation. Yeah, that's all I want to share. Any question?
Sounds good.
So-
I'm thinking this is a sort of application sort of specific thing. I think our job is probably to try and abstract this a little bit and apply it to more stuff in this group.
Well, this is framework level. So PyTorch need one because only PyTorch knows the framework level, high level information, right? And then probably another one will be necessary for like TensorFlow. Another one.
But PyTorch itself is a specific, sort of software environment. So other people
Yeah.
have other. So one of the things is like Oracle does databases. So like, you know,
No.
what does a database application look like versus a PyTorch application?
I'm using. So what Tushar want me to present to Chakra is how did Oracle did it to give the high level aggregate information.
Yeah. Well, I'm just saying,
So-
what can we learn from that about what you know, if we just view it as just one kind of workload, what is it? What did it?
Oh, okay. Yeah.
What's the information you're trying to accumulate from that?
This is the way. So this is the Oracle has this thing called active session history. So this is all public information. So there's nothing secret. So this is in memory, and so it's a circular data structure, and then it give the information, capture information in the data dictionaries. Of course, the easier thing I think is compared with like PyTorch. It's a distributed problem. Like in this case, is each database is a kind of a not a distributed computing problem. So it's definitely easier. However, to do the same, some kind of aggregation is needed.
Are you presenting slides or moving slides? Are you doing slideshow? Because I only see one slide. Maybe it's my screen's frozen.
Maybe mine's also frozen. Anyway, yeah, it's the right now I'm looking at slide number 5, Ash architecture.
Okay.
Yeah.
I'm not.
I'm
not-
also
not.
with Jack. I'm also just see the constant one slide.
Okay. Okay, can you post, Victor, can you post the slides
Yeah.
into the share so we can look and we can go through? Because I see slide 5 in the left-hand side in the scroll bar, but I can't read the text in that because I see what you're talking about. I just don't see it.
I'm on slide 5 right now.
Yeah, but the slide I see, it says hardware support and Canado level aggregation question mark.
Last one. Yeah. That's the last slide actually. That's number
Okay.
12. Yeah.
Yeah, so that's all we see. So if you're doing slideshow, we're looking at the wrong screen.
That's fine. I don't want to, is this probably not directly to here? I will present in the Chakra meeting, but I think eventually to have something real time for the polymorph architecture, some aggregation is needed, not full trace.
Well, but so it is needed, and to be honest, as we actually have the conversation, Yasha and I have talked a bit about, if we start, essentially you do say polymorphic, you do a static, say we do a static allocation, which allows us to actually get going. But what we'd like to do is a dynamic. And if we do dynamic, then we actually need to understand what would we change, and to do what would we change, to your point, you don't want to be looking way in the rearview mirror. What you'd like to do is look at far more real time to make real time decisions, so that the decisions are accurate. And how do you start to aggregate, essentially, we'll say telemetry, how do you start to aggregate, some of the metrics as you move up the stack to a point where you can now start to make appreciable decisions because it's over something you've composed, not a specific element. So what we'd like to do is start to look at some of the metrics in context in space, how we composed it, and in time. So your aggregation is fine for what I could see. But, Yasha brought up the point when he presented talking about some of the dynamic nature, hey, we'd like to do this in terms of, and even what Kevin was just talking about. Hey, we look at this workload. How would you break a workload up? Where do you actually place it? What kinds of things you do? And so you kind of look and say, that gave me my static map. Now, how do I dynamically look at that? And for that, we're going to need real-time aggregation.
So it depends on what kind of workflow you're looking at. If it's static like HPC, it might be possible to have a kind of static mapping, and do tracing to know the how it map and response, perform the response without being real time.
There's a thing where you can like break stuff down into containers, and the container won't have a particular version of a library in it. It'll be supplied by the underlying OS.
No,
and,
I don't.
And you can do metrics in the libraries to get your information possibly, and then switch versions.
Yeah, I'm actually certified in Kubernetes, so I know what you mean. But that's not what I mean. So if you have if you know the workflow beforehand, that's fine. But if you have for example like production environment usually is not one user, like multiple user, right? Because people don't want to waste GPU time. Everybody is trying to throw workload at the same time. So you may have a job that's doing a batch job, for example, and use all the tricks for the polymorphic to be effective. But you got a whole bunch of ad hoc users that's going to do random, do their own work. And at that time, it's impossible to know exactly what's happening when suddenly you see this slow, right? Why is it slow?
Well, part of the thing is to try and do this stuff in a way where you can learn as you go what the application needs, and the applications will scale over time. So you've got a scalability issue, and then what's changing about my application's needs as it scales.
Yeah. So the exactly the reason the Oracle's reason for that is basically Oracle's the only way to know the best testing is to capture exactly the same workload as you do for production, real time. That's something impossible in the distributed, at least in the PyTorch.
Well, it's I mean, if you're working in Azure or something, almost everything is virtualized, so you can move stuff around, put it to sleep, wake it up, and say, okay, I'm going to move from an instrumented platform to a non-instrumented. If things aren't working well, I'll put it on an instrumented HPC platform, see what's happening, and then work out what hardware needs to go on to keep running.
Yeah.
Okay, so Victor, I'm going to be I'm going to be to the point here. So you're saying, hey, it's something we need to consider. It does in polymorphic, there's going to be some drawbacks. So what I'd like to say is, to you, what you said was, okay, it doesn't fit everywhere. I'll agree it doesn't fit everywhere. And Kevin's brought up some cases where it may or may not fit, kinds of things we go through. But I think to your point, it's something that we should address and we'll agree to address in terms of that. And so I think from your point of view, we'll be looking forward to hearing back from your presentation and what they think from the chakra traces and how does that fit and what kinds of things we should consider as we start to look at our white paper and some of the pieces for that. So does it fit everywhere? No. But I think we have some cases, as I was saying, where we have interest in this particular place. And what we'd like to do is understand some of the thinking you have and how we actually get that to apply.
Okay, cool. Just for Kevin, I posted another link that's for the actual workload capture.
Yeah, I mean, one of the things I'm trying to do is do the stuff dynamically rather than sort of looking at trace files.
Okay. Thanks, Victor. I think that's great. And so we'll get that posted into the share as well. And we'll add that as a topic into the list for the second half of the year, make sure it goes through. And to your point, Kevin, around dynamic elements, Yasha was saying the exact same thing. So that'll be a topic we can talk about in our silicon discussion.
Yeah.
Okay. Any other topic for today? Thank you very much. Everybody have a fantastic weekend.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Thanks.
Bye.
Right.